Welcome back to Developers Home, and today we are discussing about Spark ETL with Hive tables. Earlier we have discussed Spark ETL with different data sources, and we have discussed till now with SQL as a data source, non-SQL data files like Parquet, ORC, JSON, text, CSV. We also did ETL with Azure Data Lake Services and AWS S3 bucket. And now today we'll do this ETL with Hive tables. And there are two types of Hive tables or Hive source system that will be available, which is external and internal. Today we'll be discussing with internal Hive tables, and we'll be learning that how to create Hive tables, how to create temporary views or global views, how to use that, how to create a Hive database, and at the end, using this all the concept, we'll do ETL. So if you see, today we are doing, these are the operations. We'll be sourcing data from one of the source system, and today we'll consider source system as a MongoDB, and then we'll create data frame from that source system. Once we have that data available, we'll do transformation and we'll load data into Hive table. So we'll create Hive table, we will create Hive temporary view and a global view using that data frame, and then we'll learn if in case you want to create database and in that database you want to create those views, how to do that. And after that we'll understand if in case we have created a global view, how to consume that global view from same Spark application but in different Spark session. So yeah, let's start with this one. Before that, what you can do is you can go to this GitHub repo, you can clone this repo, and currently we are doing chapter 5. So if you also want to practice, you can upload this content into Jupyter notebook and then you can start with me. So first thing is we are sourcing data from MongoDB, so that we need to pass this configuration that we need this Spark connector. In my case, I have that Spark instance setup, and in that setup we already have all the libraries for Hive is there, and that's why I am not externally passing that. But for MongoDB I don't have any external libraries available, and that's why we are passing this library or packages. So if you go to opt Spark and jars, you will see that all the Hive related libraries and packages are already available there, and that's why we don't need to externally specify and download and install those external packages. So now first thing is we'll just start our Spark application. So after that we'll create one Spark session. We have created that Spark session which is currently running on port number 4040. And now you know that on a earlier, so if in case you want to see all the properties of this Spark session, what you can do is you can write that variable here. If you execute, it will say that okay, this is currently running, application name is this, and if you click on this one, it will open this babe UI for that Spark session. So now first thing is we are reading data from MongoDB. So you know that in earlier Spark ETL we have uploaded this sample data into our local instance of MongoDB. So if I go to MongoDB, in our MongoDB we have this employee table which is loaded. So I will just try to read that data from that employee table. So I'm executing this. So now we'll have this data loaded into this data frame. Currently this is running, and once this data is loaded, our next step is just to make sure that data is properly loaded, and that's why I will do print schema and I will print few rows here, so we are sure that now we have this data available into our data frame. So if we go here and if you want to check how it's running, so okay, all the tasks are executed now. If you also want to check timeline, you can also check it from here. If you want to go to task and if you want to see DAG graph, you can also check it from here. So now we have data available into our data frame. So we'll create Hive table using data frame. So to create Hive table using data frame, what we need to do is we can write save as table and then name of that table. So when we create this Hive table, it will automatically create Spark warehouse directory where we have started this Spark session. Or if in case you wanna change this location of warehouse, what you can do is you can pass that parameter that I want to create this Spark warehouse into this particular location. So we can pass this configuration, and with that configuration you can also specify where you want to create this Spark table. Okay, so now if I'll execute this one, so as of now if I go inside, I see that I don't have anything available here. But now if I execute this one, what it will do is it will create file and load this all data into this folder. So you see that we have given table name as a Hive sample table, and we see this data available is here. And there is also one file created which is like a Parquet file, and it was like zip using snappy format. So when you create this Hive table, there are multiple options like in which format you want to store this data. And we have, these are the options available. If in case you want to store this data as a RC file, sequence file, ORC, Parquet, text file, and AVRO, by default it will consider as a Parquet file, and it will use snappy as a compression method. But if in case you want to change this, you can also change that. Okay, so next step is we have created this Hive table. So if you want to write any Spark SQL on top of that, we can write that. We'll do that later. But before that, we'll create a temporary and global Hive view. So you know that earlier also we used to create this temporary view, and we used to write Spark SQL. So same thing we'll do here, that create or replace temp view. And if you want to create global view, we'll use create or replace global view. So what is the difference between temp and global view? So in case of temp, this temp view is only limited to this Spark session. So if you create one more session inside this Spark application, you can't use this temporary view. But in case of global view, that can be accessible from all this Spark session under this Spark application. So now I will first create this views. So once these views are created, this temp view will be available here. So it will create that folder in a few seconds. So once this is done, now you know that we have created this temp and global view, but we want, and we also created this table, but we want to check that okay, in which database these tables and views are created, because we haven't specified any database. So there is a command to check what are the all databases are available. So we see that we have default database is available. So in SQL databases, by default we have DBO schema available, and when we create any table without specifying schema, it will create all the tables in a DBO schema. Same way, if we are not specifying any database, it will create all the tables and view into default database. So we see that we have default database available. And now if you want to check what are the tables and views are already created, so if you execute this query, we'll see that okay, we have this Hive sample table which we have created. Is that temporary? No, because that is the table. Okay, because that is physical stored here, and that's why it says that okay, it's not temporary. But we see that sample temp view, which is like just a view, it's just a wrapper on top of table, and that's why it says that it's the temporary. So this is how you know that we can check what are the tables are available. Same way you know that we have right here Spark SQL, but if you want to write and list all the databases and all the tables available in Hive using PySpark, so we have this command available, which is exactly same, which will also give that we have default as a database available, and this is the location of that database. Same way, if you want to list all the tables, it will list all the tables. Same way, it's giving same result, but here we are using PySpark. Same way, if you want to check property of any table, so if I execute this one, it will provide details that okay, this table is having these are the columns and they are having these are the properties. So now this is how you know that you can check what are the tables, database and columns available into that particular tables. So now next is you know that if you want to execute any Spark query on top of that table, so yeah, exactly same way we can write this query, that's SQL context.sql, and we can write all the queries. Like if you want to see count star, we can also do count star, order by, any you know that NCSQL you want to use, you can use it here. So 95 rows is there. Same way you can also write queries for global view, temp view, But now if you want to write spark.table, it's again same thing. It will also give same results as a select star from sample temp view. And if in case of, if it is a global table, you need to specify that it's a global temporary table to this Spark application. If you directly write this sample global view, it will not provide any details, and we need to add this part before that view. So if I execute now, we'll see same data here. So next thing is, we have that created these tables and views. So now what I will do is, I will drop this all the tables and views. So if in case you want to drop this, we'll write drop global temp view, drop temp view, and this is how it will drop those views. So these views are no more available into our default database. So if I go and execute here, we'll see that we don't have these views anymore available, because it's just showing this table and we don't have any view available here. So now next thing is, let's say we have created this data and tables into default database, but if you want to create this into particular database, so how to create database? So to create database, what we can do is create database, and then you can provide database name, and then we say that use this database for rest of all the operations. So now if I execute this one, it will create data engineering as a database. And now if I go inside, it's creating separate folder, because what are the tables we create here, those will be tables from default database. But if in case you are giving detail that I want to use this database, I want to create this database, so it will create separate table, and then all the tables you create, it will be available into this directory. So now next thing is, if I execute what are the databases available, so it will say that now we have two databases, and then I will create this table and then temp view and global view into this database now. So if I execute this one, so this will create this table, global view and temp view. And now we have created this table inside data engineering database. So now this Hive sample should be also available inside this, because we have created this table inside this database. So yeah, we can see that again. If I do same query, that what are the tables available into this database, so we can see that. So this is how that we can create database, and then we can create view and table inside that database. So now next thing is that we have discussed that there are temporary views and global views, but now that global views can be accessible from all the Spark session inside that Spark application. So now what we'll do is, we create one more Spark session inside this Spark application, and then we'll try to access that global view and temp view, and we'll see how it works. So let's say we have one session which is started with Spark. Now we are starting one more session with new Spark. So if I execute this one, it will create one more Spark session, but inside this Spark application. So if I execute this one, it will provide same details, because this is again started into the same Spark application, right? So it is just created one more session, but inside this Spark application. So now we have one more session available, and now instead of spark.sql, now I'm saying that new spark.sql, and I want to access data from global temp view. So if I execute this one, it will provide details. So it is understanding that this is global view, and that's why we are able to access that from different Spark session inside that application. But now if in case, if I try to read data from temp view, if I execute this, it will give error that it can't find this temp view definition, because that is not inside this new Spark session. But if I write this way, it should be accessible, because this temp view is created inside Spark session, not in a new Spark session. So this is how that you can create a global view, and you can access global view from multiple Spark session inside one Spark application. So yeah, this is how that we have completed Spark ETL with Hive, and we understand concept of Hive. So yeah, I think that's all for today, and in our next Spark ETL session, we'll be doing ETL with APIs. So we'll see you in the next video and in the next blog. See you then, and thanks. for watching.